What's going on, everybody? This is Andre here with the Kevin Breeze channel, and this is 10 more secret features for the Samsung Galaxy A52. In this video, I'm going to be going over 10 more tips and tricks that you might not know about for the Samsung Galaxy A52. Now, before we go any further, I do want to point out this is the international variant of the phone. That being said, let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you is one-handed mode. One-handed mode is a really unique feature that shrinks down the size of the display so you can use the phone with one hand more easily. So to get to this feature, we're going to go to Settings, Advanced Features, and turn on one-handed mode. Once one-handed mode is turned on, we're going to hit it one more time, and now we can choose how to activate it. By default, it's set to a gesture, so to turn on one-handed mode from here, you're going to swipe down like that. But you can also set it to activate by double tapping the home button. We are now in one-handed mode, and as you can see here, the screen is really tiny, and this is going to help you if you're only able to use one hand for your phone. That way you don't have to reach around the phone like that and get into all these awkward positions. And of course, depending on which hand you're using, you can change the position of the screen by just going like this. And now you can do whatever you need to do in one-handed mode, and it's so much easier if you're only using one hand. The first time I found out about this feature, I thought it was a little silly, and I didn't really get how useful it was. But once I really started messing around with it and trying it out, I've really come to realize that this is such a useful feature. No matter what you're doing, if you only have one hand available to use your phone, then sometimes this is going to be your best option because you really can't mess this up now. Whereas if you have the full screen, then it's so easy when you're only using one hand to drop the phone or make some sort of mistake. So the next section we're going to go over, there are several different parts to this. This is the device care section. The device care section has several different really important elements of the phone where you can get a lot of information about how the device is running, and there are of course a lot of settings that you can customize as well. So to get to device care, we're going to hit settings, and device care is right here where it says battery and device care. Of course, the first section that shows up on this is the battery. On the main battery screen, we have some information about the battery usage, and here you can activate power saving mode. Now, power saving mode is a really useful feature, but I would say you should only use it when you really need it because it will hinder the performance of the device. It's basically going to put your phone in a super low power mode so it can conserve battery better. Probably the best time to use this is if your phone is really running low. I'm talking 20% type low, and you know you're not going to be able to get to a charger anytime soon and don't quite just want to turn your phone off. This is a really good way to save battery until you can get to a charger. So we're going to go to more battery settings, and right here there are several different things you can change. Right now, fast charging is activated. I would just leave that as is. This really only is affected when you're using a fast charger, and I don't really see a reason to turn it off. This is basically going to control whether or not this battery percentage up here is showing. You can turn that off. I personally like it off just because it looks a lot cleaner. And besides, if you want to see the battery percentage, you can just drag down the notification center and it's going to show up right here anyway. Another thing that's on by default is adaptive battery. Adaptive battery, basically it limits the background usage of apps you don't really use that much. And this is really nice because sometimes the apps that run in the background without you really even knowing use the GPS, which can really drain the battery a lot. Now, moving on to storage. This is where you can get all of the information about the storage of the device. It's going to tell you what's taking up space on the phone, how much you have left over, what percent is being used, all that kind of stuff. And it's going to show you a lot more information about that as well. You'll be able to see what you have in your trash, and it's also going to show you the large files you have. In case you're running low on space, it's going to allow you to see those large files, and if you have some you don't need, then you can more easily locate and delete them. The memory section, as the name implies, is going to show you how much memory you have available. Now, this phone is definitely an upgrade from its predecessor with 6 gigabytes of RAM instead of 4, so you're going to be able to do a lot more with it because of that. But it is good to check the RAM every now and then and just make sure that everything is running fine, because sometimes when the RAM gets filled up, when you have too many things running at once, it does get a little slow. And in that situation, you can simply hit the clean now and it's gonna clean your RAM and make sure that all the stuff that's running that you don't really need to have running is gonna be shut off. And as you can see here, it did improve a little bit, so that's a good thing. I would suggest doing this every now and then, especially if your phone is running slow. The next thing I'm gonna show you is how to change the clock style. Now the clock style, of course, is the style of this clock right here, and there are so many different options you have for it. So we're gonna go to settings, lock screen, and clock style right here. And now you're gonna be able to choose which clock style you actually wanna change, whether it's the always on display if you have that activated. And in case you missed that part in the last tips and tricks video for this phone, the always on display is basically this little black screen that shows up when you have your screen locked that's not quite awake, but it's still something that's basically there to show you the time and your notifications. You can always change the clock on the always on display, but for this example, we're gonna do the lock screen. Now you can choose several different styles. Let's say we want this one, and then you can also change the color of the clock as well. Once you're done with the customization, you can go ahead and hit done. And now when you go to your lock screen, you're gonna have the style of clock that you chose. Now again, if you want it to be different for your always on display, then you're gonna have to change it separately because the lock screen and the always on display are two different things. As you can see here, even though I customized the clock on the lock screen, the always on display is still the same. The next thing I'm gonna be going over is the side key. Right now, if you double tap the power button, it's gonna open the camera. But you can also have it open an app instead. To do this, we're gonna go to settings, advanced features, and side key. So we have a few different options, and some of these options actually weren't here in previous phones. By default, it does quick launch the camera. If you use Bixby, you can also have it open Bixby, or you can have it open an app of your choice. And this is actually any app. So for example, I'm just gonna choose something completely random. And now when I double tap the side key, it's gonna open that app that I chose. I personally like it to use the camera the best, but if you have an alternate camera app, like for example, Open Camera or Snapchat, something else that you want to use the camera with, this is a great time to put that here. The other thing is when you press and hold the power button, right now, that's gonna wake up Bixby. But you can also have it open the power off menu. There's also side key settings right here that you can jump right to if you ever wanna change it. But it's really nice to be able to customize these different options. In previous phones, I've typically seen only quick launch camera and maybe open app. The press and hold section and the Bixby options weren't there, so it's nice to be able to customize it even more. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to customize the home screen. You can do it through the settings, but this is so much better and faster. All you need to do is press and hold your finger on the home screen itself, and all these options are going to come up. Wallpapers, themes, widgets, settings, pretty much everything you need to really make the home screen your own. The next thing I'm going to show you is easy mode. Now this is definitely one of the newer features, and I actually didn't know what it was the first time I saw it, but it's actually really cool. What easy mode does is basically enlarges a lot of things on the screen like icons and text. If you have a hard time seeing it, or if you just want to make sure you don't accidentally open an app you don't want to, you can do that with easy mode. So you get there through the settings menu, display, easy mode, and easy mode is right here. You just toggle it on. It does take a second to load. Now once easy mode is activated, you have a few different options here. You can actually customize the touch and hold delay. You can make it super short or super long, or you can even make it completely custom, which I thought was really cool. Then you can also turn on what's called the high contrast keyboard. And this is basically a giant keyboard with super bright colors. Again, if it's harder for you to see something or whatever the situation may be, this keyboard can definitely help out a lot. And of course, I'm sure you're wondering what the home screen looks like on easy mode. It looks like this. These apps are giant, and I really wasn't expecting this when I was trying it out for myself. To switch back from easy mode, you're gonna just toggle it back off. Now be aware that the phone, for whatever reason, does sometimes act a little bit slow while it's switching between normal mode and easy mode. So if it feels like it's freezing, just wait a couple seconds. it'll be fine. It just does, for some reason, act out a little weird, and I'm guessing it's because it's changing the entire UI, the whole appearance of everything, and I think that does take a little bit of energy on the RAM, but with that in mind, it still is really easy to switch between them. Now, with a phone as nice as this, you're bound to want to get some protection for it, whether that's a case or a screen protector or both. But one thing about screen protectors that can get really annoying is that sometimes with a really high quality screen protector, it might be a little difficult to perform tasks on the phone just because that film of the screen protector over the screen might get in the way and make it harder to actually touch the screen. With this phone, that's actually a really solvable issue. If you go to settings, display, and touch sensitivity, you can actually increase the touchscreen's sensitivity so you don't have that problem. That way, it'll be a lot easier to use when you have a screen protector. Have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to read something on your phone and the screen falls asleep on you? That's one of the most annoying things that happens to me on a phone, and this phone actually has a really good way to avoid that. So normally the way you would avoid this is to go into the display settings and change the screen timeout to a longer time. Now that actually has a huge drawback that in my opinion makes it really just not worth it. And that is when you have your screen timeout set to a really long period of time, then your phone's most likely gonna just stay on. If you accidentally bump it or something and the screen comes on, it's gonna stay on for 30 minutes or an hour or just not turn off at all. And that's gonna drain the battery real fast. Especially with this 90 Hz Super AMOLED display. These nice displays really do take some energy, so it's really just not a good idea to have the screen on all the time, unnecessarily draining battery, but at the same time, it's still so annoying when the phone falls asleep on you. But if you go to settings, advanced features, and motions and gestures, you're gonna see this little option right here that says keep screen on while viewing. With this activated, the phone's actually not gonna fall asleep as long as you're looking at it. What it does is uses the front-facing camera to detect your face, and as long as there's a face looking at the phone, then the screen is not gonna fall asleep, but as soon as you put the phone down and stop using it, then it's gonna go back to normal and actually deactivate after the time you set it in the screen timeout section. Now the next thing I'm gonna show you is how to get the dark theme. Whether you're doing it for accessibility reasons to make it easier on your eyes or just aesthetics, the dark theme has always been popular. To get to it, we're gonna go to settings, display, and dark theme is actually right here at the top. So we're just gonna hit dark theme and now it's activated. There's also some settings for it. You can have it schedule, and basically when it's scheduled, it's gonna go into dark mode whenever it hits that time that you set it to. Typically it's at night to in the morning when the sun goes up, then it goes back to light mode, but you can have it set however you want. On the subject of light and dark themes, I'm gonna show you some more color settings you can have to customize the appearance of your display. So right here we see the screen mode by default is set to vivid, and this is basically the most dramatic, enhanced, bright versions of these colors that you can get. But you can also set it to natural, which is basically just normal. And some people might prefer this better. It's really up to you. But if you do have it in vivid mode, you can also change the white balance. You can make it really cool, or you can make it really warm. And there's definitely a difference here. You can also go to advanced settings and you can change the specific RGB balance of the colors. For example, we're gonna take out a bunch of red here, and you can see it definitely dulls down, or we can take out some of the green. So there's definitely quite a bit you can do to customize the color balance of your display. Another thing you can do, and this is especially for those of you who have to be on your phone a lot and it gets strenuous on your eyes, you can activate what's called an eye comfort shield. And what this does is tints the screen in a little bit of an amber color. And this is gonna filter out some of that blue light that can really be harmful to your eyes. And you can customize this as well. By default, it's set to always on when you activate it. And you can also have it adapt based on the time of day. And you can set the intensity. You can make it super tinted in amber or really cool colors, basically nothing. But that was 10 more secret features for the Samsung Galaxy A52. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully you learned something new as well. If you did, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And for more info on the device itself, don't forget to watch the full review of the phone on the channel. For info on pricing and availability, as always, definitely check the link in the description because that stuff is always changing. But that's it for today, guys. I will see you in the next video.